What is up, everybody? My name is Robert Donaldson, and you can follow me on Twitter at RobDFB. And once again, I am joined by my buddy CBB Nick, who you can follow on Twitter at CBB Nick. And what we're doing in these videos, if you guys haven't already caught on, it's just breaking down every single conference tournament that is out there. There will be a video for every conference tournament on this channel, and we're going to have our futures bets. We are going to go through the bracket. We're going to pick round by round winners, and it's been a lot of fun. This is a great time of year to talk about college basketball, especially conference tournament action with all of these teams, playing out their hearts out. And these are where you have to be ingrained in the college basketball to kind of know what's going on. And today, in this video at least, we're going to be focusing on the CAA, or the Colonial Athletic Conference. And we've seen this league have an up and down type of year, with Charleston kind of spearheading it for three-fourths of it. And then once Aaron Estrada and Hofstra got healthy, we saw the upset get pulled, where Hofstra beat Charleston, claimed the one seed, and now we have the field of play for this conference tournament. And Nick, as we kind of look at the first round, if you will, almost like a playing game between Hampton and Monmouth at the 12 and 13 seeds, it's the only game that's going to be played on that day. Who are you liking to emerge out of that matchup to advance to the next round?
What an exciting game between these two powerhouses. No, but we love this conference. We love all these guys. But Monmouth has been like the reverse of what they were last year. I think Monmouth last year started off like America's team, like 9 or 10-0 against the spread to start the year. And it was like kind of like the inverse, where this year they started terribly and then ended the year pretty well. But I'm gonna go with Hampton to get this little playing game W.
Yeah, and something to note about this conference tournament that I didn't mention is that Monmouth, North Carolina A&T, Hampton, and Stony Brook are all new additions to this conference this year. So, when you're looking at last year's conference tournament, the top four seeds are actually now getting a first round bye, where that wasn't the case last season. And last season, this was a conference tournament where we saw a ton of variance. We saw a 9A upset, we saw a 6-3 upset, we saw a 5-4 upset, we saw a 5-1 upset, and in the semifinals, we saw a number 5 seed in Delaware upset the number 2 seed in UNC Wilmington, rather than the championship game, with Delaware advancing to the NCAA tournament. So this is one of those wide open conferences as well, and it's going to be fun. And out of this first matchup, you went with Monmouth. I am also going to go with Monmouth here to win the first round opening matchup. This is a Monmouth team that sucked horrible. They were just awful coming out of the gate. But as of late, they actually have been playing a lot better ball. They beat some pretty decent teams in this conference that are seated in that little middle of the pack range. And I do think they can pull off maybe even a couple upsets in this tournament. So I'm going to take them to advance over the 12 seed Hampton for the first matchup. And then as we go to the second round, we're looking at the 8-9 seed matchup between William and Mary and Elon. Out of those two games, or out of those two teams, who do you see advancing to the next round?
I was kind of precursoring this for you before we started recording, as the Ceylon team has just burned me one time, but that's all it takes for me to hold a grudge. So I hope they lose to William and Mary. But for real, I do actually think William and Mary would win the game, my spite aside. I just don't know how good offensively the Ceylon team is. Obviously, they've come down, the stretch of the season and are playing pretty well. But they did just drop a game to William and Mary a couple days ago, losing by double digits. So I think William and Mary's will edge them out here.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to go the opposite way. I'm going to take Elon. I did like how they kind of finished the season out strong. And sometimes in these types of matchups, when you have an 8-9 and a recent result that would reflect to maybe an easy choice as a winner, I like to almost go the opposite direction. We see it a lot, especially in these types of conferences. Big South, for example, last year with Charleston Southern, a 5-24 team, winning their open round matchup. I like Elon to advance over to play Hofstra in the next round. But as we work our down the second round of the list, we have a matchup between Drexel and Monmouth. And Monmouth actually won this matchup the last time these two played, a 5-13. But who are you thinking is going to prevail as far as this new matchup is in the conference tournament goes?
So I'm gonna ride with the Dragons. I'm not usually like a guy that's like, oh, defense wins. But I think in this case, where the drastic difference is like almost top to bottom, where Drexel is a top 50 defense and Monmouth is a bottom five offense, I think that's where defense is gonna really show, and Monmouth is gonna really struggle to score in this game. While I don't love Drexel's offense, I think the gap in skill in this is just gonna be the clear winner. So let's go with the Dragons.
Yeah, this is a matchup that I could see being 48-51 final. Um, I would probably
That
lean
wouldn't be
to.
shocking.
I definitely wouldn't be shocked. I would lean towards just taking blindly the under in this matchup if that's what it happens to be. And yeah, I'm also going to lean with you. I'm going to go a little bit. I'm going to go very chalk on this one. I'm going to take Drexel advancing to the next round there to play UNC Wilmington. And then as we work down to the 7-10 matchup between North Carolina A&T and Stony Brook, two new additions to this conference this year. Who do you have advancing to the next round out of this matchup?
Stony Brook has a couple guys that are averaging double figures. Their offense, isn't too bad. I think I'm going to go with Stony Brook here to take out or to win this, little new addition battle that we got. Just a little upset, 10-7. I think they can take advantage of A&T and actually put up some points on the board. So I don't think it'll be too high scoring by any means, but I think they'll edge this one out. Maybe close game, one or two possessions.
I like it. I like it. And I do think I'm actually going to ride with Stony Brook here as another upset as well. Um, I just think that North Carolina N.T. has had a lot of letdown spots this year where they laid an egg, and Stony Brook has kind of had the inverse of, yeah, they got blown out quite a few times by some really good teams in the conference, but they've also been competitive with some of the, and especially even out of conference with a game against Bryant, where I thought the Bryant was a pretty good team. They gave them a little ball game there, so I'm gonna take Stony Brook. Don't love the play. Probably won't ever bet that matchup there. But I am gonna take Stony Brook to advance. And then as we go down to 6-11, this is kind of where it gets a little bit more interesting, maybe, because these two teams played twice. It was insane to watch these two games. I mean, Northeastern mounted a 20-point comeback to beat Delaware at their home court. And then the next matchup, Delaware was up double digits, and that game became a 3-point game at the very end of it. So, very competitive matchups between these two this season. Out of that Delaware Northeastern matchup, no, Nick, what are you liking out of there? Who do you like to advance?
Yeah, this is gonna be a battle again. I think this is gonna again come down to one or two possession game. It's just gonna be who wants it more. Honestly, this is more of a coin flip to me than a lot of the games that we've covered.
Yep.
I'm I'm gonna go with Delaware to get it. I think they'll just step up maybe in that last, those last 2 minutes where it really matters most, hit those clutch free throws when it comes down to the wire. So I'm gonna go with Delaware.
I like it too. Yeah, I'm gonna go Delaware as well. I think guards do pay off, or having good guards does pay off in this kind of tournament setting, and the better guards side with Delaware. So I am gonna take Delaware to advance there. And then as we go back to the very top of this bracket in the third round of this conference tournament in the CAA, we have Hofstra taking on, for me, Elon, for you, William and Mary. Who do you like advancing out of that matchup there?
I think this is a game where the skill gap is just going to be very apparent. I think Hofstra has a very easy road, knock on wood, for them to the finals in this bracket. So I'm going to go with Hofstra to get it done here. I don't think it'll be too close.
Absolutely agree. I think the talent gap in this league is one of the widest as far as the top, whoever you kind of view as a top three, maybe four teams in the conference, and there's a drastic fall off, at least in my opinion, there. So, yeah, I'm also going to take Hofstra to advance past whoever comes out of that 8-9 game. And then as we go down to the second matchup here, we are going to have UNC Wilmington going up against Drexel. We both have Drexel advancing in that round. So, in that matchup, this is kind of where it gets a little interesting because, again, this was a ball game the last two times they played, and especially last time when they played when they went to overtime and Drexel really just missed a 3-point shot at the buzzer to win outright. So as far as this 4-5 goes, who do you have advancing to play Hofstra in the semifinals?
Yeah, so I've been kind of following the Drexel team a little bit towards the end of the season, and it just feels like they make these games very close. Maybe even in these games where they're not supposed to be, versus the top seeds or the top teams in this conference. I I'm gonna go with Drexel to take out Wilmington. I think it's gonna be another one of those close games like they've had where it comes down to a last second three buzzer beater, or it comes down to the just hitting those free throws down the stretch in the final 2 minutes. So I'm gonna go with the Dragons with a slight upset over Wilmington.
Yep. I'm in the same boat. I wouldn't be surprised if in this matchup Drexel's actually the favorite, or at least it's kind of set at like a pick 'em line.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm gonna also take Drexel to beat UNC Wilmington and advance to semifinals. And then we have Charleston. So this is the team that when people think of the CAA, if they do think of the CAA from a mainstream perspective, they're thinking of Charleston. They're not thinking of Hofstra or Towson or UNC Wilmington or Drexel. They're thinking of the Cougars and Pat Kelsey. And for us, we have them playing two different matchups here. We have you have North Carolina A&T, or rather, yeah, you have North Carolina A&T in there. Or do we picked both
I
Stony
think we
Brook?
both got Stony Brook. Yep.
Yeah, okay. A lot of picks going through my brain right now. But yeah, so we have a 2-10 matchup between Charleston and Stony Brook in this matchup. Who do you have advancing to the semifinals?
Like you said, when you think of this conference, everyone's going to think of Charleston because of that. They started off so hot and they were running this conference, and they are a very good team. I think it's kind of interesting that they don't have like a Shroda type player on their team where he's like the clear, like that's
Yeah.
the guy, and then there's a supporting cast. It's like they have 6 or 7 guys in like double figures that can definitely contribute to them winning these games. I think Charleston is going to win this one. I think this bottom half of the bracket again is going to be a little bit easier for these top seeds until they play each other. So we'll go with the chalk. We'll go with Charleston over Stony Brook.
Yep, same boat. I am taking Charleston to advance by whoever comes out of that 7-10 matchup. I just think that there's a few tiers between those two teams, or whoever that team is that comes out of that matchup. So yep, I am going to take the Cougars and Pat Kelsey there. And then in this 3-6 matchup, we both have Delaware advancing. Who do you like between Towson and Delaware? I think this is kind of a fun little matchup here.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. Again, I think Delaware is closer to Towson's skill than Stony Brook to Charleston for sure.
Hmm.
But I like Towson. I think their offense is really good. Timberlake's 18 points per game. This team's shooting very well from three, a little bit over 37%. I like Towson to get it done. Like I said, I think this bottom half is really going to start in the semis for them.
Yeah, and Towson is one of those teams as well coming in the year. If you were kind of plugged into the CAA coming into the season, you might have had Towson be the better team over Charleston. And until Charleston's hot stretch to start the year, that's kind of when the narrative shifted. But everybody was looking at Towson initially there, just because they're a veteran core and the transfer they brought in. But yeah, I'm also going to take Towson in this matchup, no matter who comes out of that 6-11 game, to advance the semifinals to take on Charleston and make a really fun matchup. And then we head over to the top of this semifinal matchup between Hofstra and I have Drexel. Did you also take Drexel?
I did. Yep.
Yep. So we have both have Hofstra Drexel 1v5. Who do you have coming out of that matchup there?
Again, I think Hofstra has the easiest run to the finals of the conference tournament. So I'm going to go with Hofstra and Aaron Estrada. I think, like I said, Drexel keeps it close versus these teams maybe when they're, 5, 6 point dogs, which they even might be versus Hofstra. I just think that if we're going straight up, Hofstra is just the way better team, especially offensively. So I'm going to go with Hofstra.
Yep, I absolutely agree. I am also going Hofstra. This is my favorite team in the conference, and ever since Aaron Estrada got healthy, I just feel like they're playing at a different level above any team in this conference, and Charleston included. So yes, I will also go with Hofstra to make it to the championship game. And then our other semifinal matchup, we have Charleston taking on Towson in whoever wins obviously advances the championship game there. This is a really fun matchup, and we saw it when it was played at Towson. This was a serious ball game. This went to overtime. Towson made a run late, and then Charleston snuck out a winner at the very end on a not necessarily a buzzer beater, but almost a buzzer beater. And then when they played at Charleston, this was another tight ball game. At halftime, I believe it was a 2 point or two, like me, a one possession lead for Charleston. And then down the stretch, it was tight all the way until kind of free throws took over at the end. So Charleston's 2-0 on Towson this year, but how do you see this matchup shaking out, and who do you think is going to the championship to face Hofstra?
I'm gonna go with Towson here. I think we talked about it too earlier. Like it's hard to sweep these teams. It's the higher skill level you go, it's just harder to get these teams on a 2-0, 3-0 streak,
Mm.
especially when the games are that close. So I think this is definitely a revenge spot for Towson where those losses matter. And I think they're gonna prove it. They're gonna show people why, like, this is why you guys thought we were gonna win this conference, preseason, and we're here to show you. So I'm gonna go with Towson.
Yeah, and I think to your point, this is one of those conferences that might not have the depth of a Missouri Valley Conference or of a Sun Belt or a Horizon, but the top echelon, once you get in that top four, top five, year after year, those produce upsets because of how good those teams are. And yeah, I am also going to take Towson for the similar reason that it's tough to beat a team three times when you are that close in skill level. If it's a Stony Brook, yeah, you can sweep them three times and without blinking, you can win by double digits in each time in those games. But these are two teams that are very equivalent in talent. I think Towson actually might be the more talented team, despite what the records might indicate, and despite what the results might have indicated throughout the season. So I'm going to take Towson as well to make the championship game and play against Hofstra. And as far as that championship game goes, who you liking to get the auto bid out of the CAA?
Yeah, this is going to be a really good game. I think both of their defenses are pretty similar. I think Hofstra's offense is just a step above Towson. So I really want to take the hungry dog and go with Towson. And to kind of, like I said, solidify, like, this is why you guys thought we were number one. We're going to prove to you we're the best. I'm going to go with Towson. I think they can get it done. I think this roster is very capable. Again, while they have, an obvious leading scorer, there's definitely a supporting cast around him that isn't afraid to also put up 15 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with the Tigers.
Yeah, and this would be a an ideal matchup for the future bets I've placed, and we'll get into that here in a second. But yeah, I'm gonna take Hofstra. I really trust this team. Love their guard play. I love how balanced they are. I think they're playing just the best ball in this conference right now. But like I've been kind of saying, I wouldn't. These games can go either way, and I do think Towson could easily win this game as much as I do think that Hofstra could win it. And as we kind of focus on the future side of things, what have you placed? What are you thinking about placing? And where do you think the value kind of lies with the betting side here?
Yeah, I think my futures would align just like you said with if these two teams make it, because I think, like I said earlier too, Hofstra has the easiest road to the finals here. I don't think they're really going to face a test until the championship game against Charleston or Towson, whichever one makes it out of that matchup. So Hofstra plus 180 to win. While it's definitely the chalky pick, I think their road to the championship game is pretty safe. And then again, my other side of it is Towson at plus 600 to win. Their first like real test should be against Charleston in the semifinal. So if they're able to edge them out and make it to the championship game, if you're sitting with a plus 600 ticket and all you have to do is win one game, I feel like you're pretty comfortable with that.
Absolutely. And similar to you, I have zero point 0.5 units bet on Towson to win the CAA plus 600. And then for my 2 unit bet in this conference, I have Hofstra to win the CAA at plus 180. So that would be an ideal championship scenario for me. And surprisingly, I would be pulling for Towson to beat Hofstra in that one, despite the despite my bigger bet being on Hofstra. But yeah, that is gonna do it for this episode covering the CAA, the Colonial Conference tournament here, and we're gonna be doing a video for every single one of these. At least I will, or this channel will have one for every conference tournament. So make sure you guys check those out if you're looking to bet on them. And with that being said, I will see you in a future video. Take it easy.